Hi, gorgeous ones. Welcome to this week's episode. This week we're going to be taking a look at trait 30, the fates, or in human design terms, the clinging fire. And with this trait brings kind of this focused energy on having feelings. It's a trait that's in the emotional awareness function, or the solar plexus center in human design. And what we get here is anything that's emotional is always going to have this rise and fall of a wave from hope to pain. And when we're dealing with anything emotional, especially if this is defined in your chart, it's going to be the authority in your design. And when you have an emotional authority, it's really important to wait for clarity. And if you don't wait for clarity, what's going to happen is it's going to lead to disappointment. So this focused energy on having feelings, there's this desire to have experiences and experiences that are linked to feeling, some kind of feeling through an experience. Yet what often happens with us is that when we have this desire to experience a feeling, to have an experience, there's some type of expectation of where that experience is going to lead to. And it is these expectations that get us into trouble. Because with this particular abstract circuitry, we can't follow a logical process. We can't go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 and get a predictable outcome. Because this trait is very much about unpredictability. It's called the fates. So it's this unpredictability, this uncertainty of knowing where something will lead. And so when we step into an experience from a place of clarity and we can surrender, we can let go of our expectations, not needing it to follow a certain path, not needing it to have a certain outcome that we want. We can just completely let go, allow the fates, the unpredictableness to come in and just take us wherever it's going to lead us, is when we are going to glean the most value from these experiences. Because it's the unpredictability, it's about allowing the fates to take hold that is going to bring us the most value. Where people get into trouble here is when they either make a decision or step into something when they feel pressured, to experience the fantasy, which comes from the traits on the other side, from the 41, or this desire to experience these feelings through an experience, but they don't wait. You don't wait for clarity to really step into things that you can see are going to have the most value for you. So you get this sense through your decision-making strategy that this will have the most value for you, and then you just let go. You don't try to control the outcome or how it's going to play out. You just really go, whoops, and you let go and you see what happens. So when we're thinking about this from a business perspective, it can be quite challenging because a lot about business is we want to have predictability. We want to be able to know that if I take these actions, I'm going to have this outcome in my business. If I'm going to put this energy and this focus in here, this is going to lead to this. And what you're going to find this week is if you get really trapped into trying to control outcomes and control predictability, that the fates are almost going to punish you because things are not going to go as you expected. They're not going to follow a logical process. They are going to turn out however they turn out. So what I'd really encourage you to do is to try to wait before stepping into new experiences. Try to really check in with your decision-making strategy to get a sense of whether something is going to bring value without knowing how it's going to flow or what's going to happen at the end. And when you can really surrender, when you can really let go, is when you are going to get the most value from the energy that is around this week. So as you move through this week, what I encourage you to do is start to watch what desires are showing up. Where are you feeling pressured to follow a desire, to step into a fantasy of some kind? The other thing I'd get you to watch for is how big are your expectations around an experience? You see, we all have these dreams, but when you get trapped into how the dream's going to turn out, what the dream's going to look like, is when you are going to miss all the gems of just having the experience. So really watch for these expectations and see whether you are really locked into a certain way of something happening. Because this week, that fear of the fates, the fear of the unpredictability is going to be around, and it's going to show up, especially if you're holding on to things. So this is a great opportunity this week to practice surrender, to practice trusting in the process of your design. If you've entered into something correctly, you've checked in with your decision-making strategy, you can sense that there is value there, then I would encourage you to really step into this surrender and trusting process and just see where life takes you, where the fate takes you. Another thing I'd get you to look for is, are you resisting the fates? Are you fighting against where life is leading you? You know, these expectations or these outcomes that we have that are so fixed can actually really stop us from experiencing some of the best things that we could possibly experience. And this stream of energy is all about the experiential way. It's about having new experiences that are different from the past. And if we lock into our expectations or the outcomes that we want, we're not allowing new change, new things to come in, new energy to come in. I mean, an example that was shared by Ra is, if you have a recipe and every single person follows that recipe to the letter, they follow everything step by step, what's going to happen is that everyone's going to have exactly the same food prepared in exactly the same way. But that is not what this gate is about. This gate is about not following the steps, about allowing, oh, what about this? Let's put this in. I never thought about that before. What happens if we combine these things? And at the end, you get a meal that is radically different from the original format, because you've allowed this unpredictability to step in and mix things up. And when we're thinking about this in a business perspective, yes, certain things may have worked in the past and they may continue to work in the future. But if there is one thing that we know about this world, is that change is a constant. We are always going to experience change. And if you as a business are trapped into doing things the same way that they've always been done, there is a possibility that you become a dinosaur in the modern age. And so I'd encourage you to allow this energy of unpredictability to flow into what's going on in your work environment and in your teams, and see how amazing your team can evolve into something completely different by allowing new things, unpredictable things, to come into the mix. I hope you've enjoyed this week's video, and I'd love to hear your experiences. If you've got anything to share about how this energy is showing up for you, please post in the comments below. And each week that the energy transits change, I release a new video. So if you want to make sure that you get those each time, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.